What is up, y'all? Welcome to What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Long Lost Podcast. This week we're talking about Season 1, Episode 11, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues. I am Lyra.
And I am Lana.
And we've got an episode in store for you this week. Don't we? Do we? Are we good at doing this?
No, I don't think we are good at doing this.
Oh, cool.
Well, the last one we recorded, which was approximately 4.5 months ago. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, forever ago.
I don't know how it will sound yet, but I remember feeling really weird about it.
Yeah. We both were just, having weird energies that day.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know why.
I remember we were like, should we just do that again? And we just didn't, so...
I guess we didn't. So,
yeah.
Good luck to you, Lana, in editing that into something listenable, and good luck to the listeners. Well, I guess more like congratulations, listeners, for having gotten through that episode.
Oh, yeah, if they're listening to us now, I suppose that's true.
Yeah. Totally.
Maybe they don't, though. Maybe that's where it all ends.
No. But our best material is yet to come.
I hope so.
Yeah, same. Okay, let's do this part. How are you doing? That sounds good.
I exist.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
I'm tired. I'm sore. My body hurts. But,
That's cool.
We're here.
We are here.
Our time and episode time difference has gotten smaller difference.
Yeah, it's been a while since we recorded last time.
Which I actually think is cool.
Yeah? Yeah? Why do you think that?
I don't know. It feels, when I'm editing, it feels, I don't know if more intuitive, but it's like, now I can be like, oh yeah, that just happened. I get like a little refresher.
Yeah.
On a previous episode, rather than like an episode from like 4 episodes ago where I'm just like, oh, I guess all that happened. Yeah, I don't know.
Totally.
Plus, no, we can talk about current events now and not sound weird. Like the Knicks game, We can talk about the Knicks game and how that
Yeah, I know about sports. We could talk about current events, all of which are extremely fun and cool,
I think the Knicks game is fun and cool. That's my stance.
Yeah, you're right. I guess this is why people like sports. I get it.
People like sports because they are reality TV for men, and they just don't want to admit that.
That tracks. That sounds right.
Yeah. How are you?
Well, I think... So I rewatched this episode today so we could talk about it.
Yeah, me too.
I think that when I watched it the prior time, it caused me to have a mental health crisis for several weeks.
Okay.
So that's how I've been. However, today I'm feeling okay. I got my tea. I've got those tasty peanut butter filled pretzels that are so delicious.
Oh my God.
However, these Sunny Select brand peanut butter filled pretzels do not have enough salt on them, which is fucked up because that's the entire purpose of a pretzel.
Yeah.
It's salty.
You're disgusting. And
do you hate... We found yet another food that you think is horrible.
Well, it's... Okay, I got a question, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is this food item, which you are enjoying...
Uh-huh.
Is it peanut butter inside of the pretzel?
It is it's like a pretzel pocket with peanut butter in it. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't think there's actually peanut butter in there, is what I'm saying. Like, in a Reese's...
There is.
There's no peanut butter in a Reese's.
No, it has real peanut butter. You want me to tell you what's in it?
Well, I believe that it's peanut stuff. I'm just saying, if that same stuff was in a jar of peanut butter and you opened it, would you be like, oh yes, this is peanut butter? Or would you be like, what the fuck jar did I just open?
I would be like, this is dry peanut butter. That is not very good.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah. It's not like a Reese's thing. It's really sugary and it's this weird shit. But this is it's peanuts, sugar, and salt. It is peanut butter. It's poor quality.
Yeah, nothing with peanut butter in it ever actually has peanut butter in it. It has a garbage facsimile of peanut butter in it.
I can understand that issue. However, these things are bomb. I don't know.
All right,
they're
fine. No,
good.
like what you like, but
they're salty and nutty, a little bit sweet.
I mean, I like garbage food. I just like garbage food that tastes good. That's my stance.
Like Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we're connoisseurs of different sorts of trash. Can that not
true.
be?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Why did this episode Did it actually kick off a mental health crisis?
No, I was already like kind of.
All right.
I've been doing
timing wise, but
yeah.
not like I was gonna be like, wow, that's actually impressive for an episode of Lost. That actually says something powerful about it somehow.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about my actual feelings about the episode in a minute, but I mean, I don't know. Should we do that? Should we talk about this?
I think we're good.
Okay, let's
I think
fucking...
we padded our episode out long enough, right?
And that's how you do padding. Speaking of padding, let's get into this episode.
All right. Interesting.
You like that little transition there?
Yeah.
Okay, my overall impressions of this episode, my overall emotional feelings on it, is that I felt like nothing watching it. I watched it the first time, I was like, what did I think about that? And then I waited a few weeks, I watched it again, and I was like, I did not think much of that. I'm left with so little of impression, it feels like filler. That is my feeling on this episode.
It's interesting you say that. My first watch, I really actually liked it quite a lot. Great. I'm glad that we're picking up and not having shitty episodes that are terrible. And then I watched it again so that it was more fresh. And I was wondering, am I feeling so nothing about this because I already saw it? So it isn't hitting me at all in any kind of way? But the second time, I definitely felt how you felt in terms of just like, yep, okay.
Yeah, I think that is probably part of it, because basically, like, knowing what already is gonna happen definitely, like, takes a lot of the tension and drama out of this one.
I agree. I think that's actually, probably what it is. And some of that stuff you would know going in even the first time.
Yeah, on my rewatch. Because, I already know that certain things are going to happen, certain things are not going to happen. So
I think where I'm going to come down on this episode top level is that it was good. And it's just that, like, a lot of what was good about it was events happening.
Yeah.
That wasn't particularly nuanced, but executed events moving forward well.
For sure. Let's get into it. Yet again, we're like changing up the sort of format here.
Yeah, so we're going back to our original format of not having the recap all together up in the front and recapping scenes and discussing them as we move through the episode.
Okay, this episode opens, Jack is patching Saeed's leg, and Saeed's like unconscious and Hurley's freaking out about Ethan. It's like exactly where the last episode ended, right? Because we learned that Ethan was not on the plane at the end of the last episode. Then, like, Jack kind of realizes that Charlie's missing, and Ethan was last seen heading over to where Claire was. And they're like, oh shit. Jack and Locke are, like, running through the jungle to where they last were, and they find, like, Claire's bag and, like, prints in the mud and stuff.
There was a commotion.
I
liked this, actually.
Sort of exciting opening.
Yeah, I thought it was an exciting opening, especially because I feel like, I'm not sure which episode. I just have in my mind that episode where, like, nothing fucking happened at all.
Yeah, which one was that? Was the one where, was that the one where
I think that's
Jack ran through the jungle?
I think it's the one we just watched, right? Where...
The Claire one?
The Claire one, where, like, literally nothing happens the entire fucking episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Or it might be a different one, but I just had that in my mind, and I was like, oh shit, stuff is actually happening.
It is very like oh shit, things are happening. I agree with that. It's like, oh fuck, stuff's popping off. People are disappearing, and there's a guy, was it on the plane?
Yeah, I liked that energy. I was with that energy for sure. And I think I'm going to try to mostly talk about my first watch of it, because I think that was the one that is more valuable, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
But I was really, like, down with that energy. And I also just really liked seeing Locke and Jack united in, like, a common cause. I thought that was cool to see.
Yeah, they've got, like, some kind of tensions between them that, like, are gonna manifest as we get further along through this episode, right?
So often you see Locke being kind of, I don't know if by himself, but having his own shit going on.
Yeah, totally.
And, like, Jack has his own shit going, like, and just this one instance, immediately, they both go running off together. And I was just like, yay, they're doing it. Go team, go. Like, that's what it felt like to me, was like, go team.
That's so funny. Let me ask you this. When they were running through the jungle, did you notice the music?
I noticed the music. I gotta say, it didn't piss me off the way that it's pissed me off in the past.
I totally thought it would, because like that was a point where like I noticed the music like a lot. Not that I didn't notice it like bad. I just like noticed it, and I feel like whenever you notice the music, you're like, sucks ass.
I think I noticed it, and I wish I hadn't. I wish it had been more subtle, but it didn't piss me off, and I'm pretty sure it's because, and we've talked about this, right? But it's because I was feeling, oh, fuck, things are happening. Let's go, team. Yeah, go run out in the jungle. Yeah, let's go, right? I was feeling that already. So then when the music is like, oh, we're going. Oh, whoa, what's going on? I was like, that's how I was feeling.
It's like meeting you there rather than like pushing you there.
Yeah, exactly. It was in sync with how I was already feeling rather than trying to get me somewhere that I was not going to get without it.
Totally.
And I think that's why it didn't piss me off.
Yeah, it's so weird because like I so think this episode is just hurt a lot by like knowing what's gonna happen, basically.
Yeah.
And I guess we could talk about why it feels like not only that, but it felt fillery for me, but we'll have to get to the end for me to like make that case.
Yeah. So yeah, I liked the intro. I liked it. I was buying in from the start on this episode.
Nice. That's a good place for it to start out on, because I feel like even the episodes that we have liked a lot, like for instance, like the one with like Sawyer's episode, which is like overall really strong, I would say, started off like dog shit.
Bad.
was like your feeling about it.
Yeah. It is true that I think that's true for, I remember there was another one too where I was like, I was so afraid this was going to be terrible, and then 15 minutes in I was like, oh, it's getting good. So it was a nice feeling to not.
That might have been the Saeed one
get
that
through
you felt that way about too.
It might have been. I think there's a few, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing that happens, Jack and Locke, okay, they find like Claire's backpack or whatever, and Locke's like, oh, there were 3 sets of prints, there was a struggle, and some people got dragged off in this direction. Jack's like, how's that even possible? And basically Locke's like, okay, let's go get a search party and get a bunch of supplies and stuff, and then we'll continue searching. And Jack's like, nah, fuck, man. He's got kind of like crazy eyes, I feel like, and he's like, we can't stop. We gotta follow him. And Locke eventually just like relents and is like, all right, you go on ahead and I'll catch up to you.
I love this. I continue to love this. I loved that part. I actually just really liked their interactions. I thought it was great.
It does remind me a lot of there's parallels to Jack's episode, right? Where like Jack was kind of running through the jungle without really thinking about what he was doing. And then like Locke is there, you know?
I feel like the difference is that in that one, he and Locke were, I don't know if they're communicating better, but he was being a lot more receptive to what Locke was saying.
Yeah.
And in this one, he is not being receptive to what Locke is saying. And I really like Locke's reaction to that. Locke tries his best to convince Jack of what he believes is the reasonable, rational thing. Jack does not go for it. And then Locke, like you said, he relents. He's like, he understands that if he's not going to convince Jack to his way of thinking, the best way to move forward is with however Jack's going to act. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure. It's just like, let him do that and react to that.
Yeah, and right? I'll work with it because that's what's going to happen. And I think that that's just genuinely a cool character point for Locke. Like, I like that in a character. I like that in a human fucking being in the real world too, where it's like, you should be able to tell when somebody's not going to agree with you about a course of action. And then, from your point of view, salvage the best way forward from that. Rather than just be like, continuing to be like, but your way is dumb and wrong and bad. We shouldn't do it. Just be like, okay, how can I make your way, which I think is wrong, end up at the best outcome? And I really liked that character-wise, and I think he had a really good performance in this episode.
Yeah, it's also interesting that Locke is like the calm one, and it actually demonstrates like a sort of a through line, like, because this is probably the most like, I mean, they crashed on an airplane on an island, whatever, but this is maybe like the most like dire situation they've been in.
Yeah,
right? And like Locke is still completely cool under pressure.
Well, they had that pilot eaten, but they didn't care about him, so
yeah, and that was also like, sure, their like initial crash and like those initial moments were very dire or whatever, but like this is like a really crazy situation for them to be running into.
Yeah.
It's like unprecedented, right? So yeah, it's interesting seeing that like Jack is like not doing well under this pressure, and we're gonna kind of find out why as we get into the first flashback. Let's do it. It's flashback time. So in this scene, basically, okay, it's in the operating room. Jack's doing like some surgery on a patient. He's trying to resuscitate her, and then like this other surgeon is like, "Call it, Jack." And Jack's like, "No," is trying to resuscitate her. Basically, it turns out Jack's dad is there, is one of the other surgeons, and Jack is the one who's operating.
Jack Daddy.
Jack Daddy.
Patient dies. Dead patient.
Patient's dead. Yeah.
Jack sad.
Yeah, this first part doesn't amount to much, I feel like.
It's some setup.
Yeah, we're just sort of setting up what's going to happen with that.
But, I mean, we get, a initial hint of Jack failed to save somebody, make Jack sad.
Yeah, and basically, like, we're elaborating on Jack's daddy issues in this one.
Yeah.
That's what this one's going to be about. So the next part is basically, okay, do you want to recap this scene where, like, Locke gets back to the caves?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Locke's like, okay, Jack, I'm going to go and do the reasonable thing and get supplies and rally help. So he goes back to the cave. Obviously, Kate is like, I'll go for a hike. I love hikes.
Yeah, that's her favorite thing.
That is Kate's actual characterization, I think, at this point, is likes hikes. Which, cool, fine.
She loves shopping at REI.
Yeah. Oh my god, she so would. Boone is like, I'll come. And Locke is basically just like, okay, fine, whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Michael is... How would you describe the scene with Locke and Michael? How does Michael even come at this?
Before we... this... Okay, so Michael, like, I forget how exactly this happens. He, like, approaches Locke and is like, hey, can I also help? Actually, the very first thing that happens is Walt walks on screen and he's like, you know what, I can get Vincent to sniff Charlie's clothes or something and then help track him. And Michael's just like, no, shut up, stop. Like, immediately he's like, shut up, son. And then he's like, hey, Locke, what if I helped? And Locke's like, we have enough people. And then Michael's like, what, I can't help? And Locke's like, sure, we're going north, you go south.
It was so good. It was so brutal.
That he's just, like, very clearly just brushing him off.
The real brutal part about it to me, which I fucking love, I love Locke in this scene, is not the brushing him off. It is the almost elevating him in a way, right? Saying, like, oh, because, yeah, Michael is like, oh, like, you don't want me to come with you. What if I just start my own party? And Locke isn't like, oh, that would be a bad idea. I don't think you can handle it. He does not do that at all. He's just like, okay, you do that. We're going north. You go south. Like, he treats him actually like an equal?
Yeah.
Which I think is the brutal part, because then Michael has to be salty about the fact that he's not as good at this as Locke is. Like, that's what's so brutal about it to me, is it's not Locke going, you're not prepared for this, you're not ready for this, you can't do this. It's him saying, okay, do this. Go for it, buddy. Let's go. And having Michael have to realize in a bitchy, salty way that it's like, I don't know.
It's kind of similar to the, like, the part where he was like, I'll help you find your dog as soon as it stops raining. And then it stopped raining and he's like, well, fuck. I guess I have to do this now.
He's very much like, I want to make it seem like I'm great, but then I actually know I'm not. That's what was so brutal about it, was just allowing Michael to brutalize himself.
I can get that. I gotta say, I feel like this is another shitty Michael episode.
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah. Like,
it's terrible.
I did literally, like, laugh when the very first thing that he says is, like, he just walks on screen and is like, shut up, son. Like,
yeah.
It's like, wow, great.
Yeah. It's bad. It's real bad.
Yeah.
We get more of it later, too.
Yeah, we do get more shitty Michael stuff. I will say, like, Walt gets, like, some scenes with some other characters in this episode.
I loved those.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Good for Walt.
Yeah, I know.
Have more scenes with not your father, because...
Fucking for real. I guess he just, like, realized, like, this guy kind of sucks. Like, why am I why would I spend my time with him?
Yeah, which, I mean, maybe that will be a trend going forward. That would be cool. 'Cause it's like that when they were all golfing and Michael was like, I'm gonna golf. Do you want to golf, buddy? And he's just like, not really. And Michael's like, okay, see ya. And he's like, well, okay, I'm just gonna leave and go hang out with other people. He kind of does that this episode.
Yeah, that is like exactly what happens. Okay, now we're back in flashback land. We're still in the OR, but everybody else has left. It's just Jack and his dad. And they get into an argument because, like, first Jack's dad is like, son, you barged into the OR and you took over this operation and she died. You fucked up, son. And then Jack's like, he basically goes for the jugular and is like, you were drunk and I was called in to save the patient from you because you fucked up and that's why she died. Do you have any thoughts on this?
There's nothing to be said about the flashbacks, I think, until we kind of get towards their resolution.
Yeah, until, like, the end. There's, like, one longer scene, but yeah. The next thing that happens is, like, we're on the island. The search party, which is, like, Locke, Boone, and Kate, they meet up with Jack, because Jack has been, like, going in circles. Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. And Locke's like, hey, good thing we found you. Anyway.
He throws some shade at him, too, though.
He does do that.
I fucking love Locke in this episode. He's so good.
He's like, it's a good thing you were going in circles.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a shitty search grid, but, like, we were able to find you.
He's like, not the best search pattern, but it's so good.
He's just like, yeah, it's pretty fucking funny. I think this conversation is also cool, because this is where, like, Locke is basically like, all right, Jack, you should go back to the camp, because you're the only doctor, and a dude, like, kidnapped two people. He might be dangerous. We don't know what the fuck is going on. It would be really bad if something happened to you.
Like, you're a valuable resource, Jack. Like, I understand that you have emotional issues that you want to work through by doing this thing right now. I understand that, but take a step back. You're a valuable resource to the community.
Yeah. And Jack just completely blows him off. He's just like, are we going or what?
And then once again, Locke is just like, sighs and goes, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I feel like from Locke's perspective, he's like, I see it's a waste of time to try and, like, talk reasonably with this guy.
Yeah, which I think is, I really liked this episode for Locke. I really did.
Yeah, I do. I think Locke is really good, and, like, Terry O'Quinn is good. Does, like, a good performance.
Yeah, it's a very good performance. You can see that that's the calculation going on, right? Without him saying the words, well, I guess I won't be getting anywhere with that argument with you, so let's do it your way. Like, he never says that, but you can clearly see it in his performance.
Yeah, he's very cool under pressure and is like, he's not worsening any of these conflicts, right?
It's a recurring, it happens, I mean, it must be deliberate. It happens like 4 or 5 times where he says to somebody else, a lot of the times Jack, happens with Boone later too, where he's like, reasonable thing, and then they're like, but no, and he's just like, well, shit, all right.
He's like, if that's what you want to do, okay.
I can't stop you. I'm not, and I like that too, because I like it just from the position of, I'm not in charge of you. You know, he's not trying to, like, take control.
Yeah.
He's trying to add his input and his resources that he brings to the situation. He's trying to bring all of that to help without telling other people what to do or having any kind of power over anybody else. And I just think that's great.
Yeah, totally. He's a kind of like a lead through action guy, right? He's like, I'm going to do this. And if other people are like, oh, I can help with that, he's like, okay, cool.
I really like characters too who don't want to be leaders, who are like, if you want to just make an analogy here, who are comfortable being role players, right?
Totally.
And they're just like, I don't need to be on a shitty team that's not making the playoffs and score 30 points a game.
Oh, we're back to sports.
I want to score 15 points a game and be on a winning team.
Yeah.
I like people who can be like, I have a role to play and I know it and I don't want to promote myself past my, value or my maximum output.
Totally. Okay, they continue that shit. This is where we have a scene where, like, Walt is with Michael and Michael is talking to Hurley as they fill up some water. And basically he's complaining that Locke was like, yeah, go south, dude.
He's complaining that he's such a little bitch boy.
He is just like kind of whining here.
He's like, oh, he thinks I'd slow him down. What, like other people can't do anything? But that's not what, like, Locke was like, yeah, go do your thing, my guy. Have at it. Like, that's a bad complaint. And I think the only reason you make that complaint is just because you fucking suck.
I also want to point out, it would not be unreasonable for Locke to just be like, the last time Locke and Michael were on an expedition together, they were trying to stealth hunt a boar, and Michael was like, why are you making hand signals? And then, like, got gored and shit. And,
I forgot about that, but you're right.
Like, it's not unreasonable for Locke to be like, no, that's not really where your skill set is, my guy.
Well, and that's the thing. It's disappointing to... Michael is just so poorly written all the time, forever. It's totally reasonable to be like, yes, I actually don't have experience tracking people through a jungle because I lived in a city. And, like, that's not a bad thing. That doesn't make you worse. And I don't think that Locke thinks it makes you worse. It's such a strange attitude to just be like, I need to be thought of as good at this skill that I would have no reason to have. Yeah,
it's just... He's just
it's terrible.
To be very annoying. Like, he just complains all the time, and he's very, like... He gets very uppity when he feels, like, disrespected, which is basically 100% of the time, like, whenever anybody does anything.
Yeah, when they aren't even disrespecting him, necessarily. He just...
Yeah. He gets upset that his son, like, rightfully points out, like, hey, Locke is good at stuff. And he's like, fuck you, basically.
He tells him, like, basically, I don't want you hanging out with him or liking him. That's it. He doesn't give a reason.
Yeah, he just really is not, he has not done a lot that he just, like, he's just, like, they just have written him to be, like, so, like, whiny and annoying. Like, what is the deal here? And I feel like that itself is kind of a racist stereotype.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right? About being like, oh, this black guy gets offended by everything, and he's fucking lazy and whatever.
Well, and that he has this attitude, that he has, like, a kind of, I don't even know if I'd say macho attitude, but this, like, competitive attitude, right? Where he's like, I need to be good at this thing, and they need to see that I'm good at this thing. And that if they're not, I've been disrespected. Like, that is very bad.
Yeah, it's really not great.
It's all shit. It's so shitty. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. I like the episode. Michael, horribly, horribly written across the board forever.
It's fucking seriously.
I did think it was funny that Walt said, as his, like, the cap on why he thinks Locke is cool and they should listen to Locke. He goes, and he was the only one who brought knives. And it's just like, okay, y'all weren't planning on crashing on an island. Like, y'all were just planning on heading back to New Jersey or whatever. Like, I don't know if that's a real...
Yeah, Walt, did you forget the part where, like, you crashed? Like...
Yeah, like, it's not like he had real foresight that everybody else was just like, nah, we don't need knives. And he was like, maybe we should have a knife. No, I thought that was funny, but also Walt is a kid, so, like, who cares? But
yeah, he's like 10. He's not gonna be totally, like, rational, right?
Hurley has a good line here. Well, it's not a good line. I don't think it's a good line. It confused me a lot. I don't know what the fuck... Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
What, the thing at the end where he's like, I was considered a warrior myself, or whatever.
I was just like, okay.
Was that supposed to be a joke? Like,
yeah,
I feel like Walt's reaction to Hurley, like, I think I'm supposed to laugh at that, but instead I react the same way that Walt does, where I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I at first I was, like, pretty sure there was gonna be a second part to it, like...
Right.
Like, I played a warrior in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, video games or whatever, like role-playing games, something around
like a setup.
Yeah, but it never came. It was just, I'm known as something of a warrior myself. ...
Is the punchline supposed to be that he's fat? Like, is it like the setup is he thinks he's a warrior? Punchline is fat guy?
That, I mean, I don't have anything else. I just thought it was really weird. Maybe
it just doesn't work, because it also, like,
it really doesn't work.
There's nothing that signifies that would be the punchline.
Yeah, No, it was bizarre.
Yeah, it's a clunker.
The only thing I could, like, that would make it make sense to me is if when we get a Hurley flashback, he was, like, a wrestler or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that he...
I would love if he was just, like, a black belt or something.
Yeah,
that would be incredible.
That he actually just did have that in his past. And then I'd be like, okay, that was a really weird line to have, but, like, I guess it was weird foreshadowing.
Yeah, he was expecting Walt to follow up with, like, a question, and then he was going to be like, yeah, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
And then
whatever.
Walt was just like, weird.
Yeah. Then Hurley feels kind of awkward, doesn't really want to.
Yeah, Hurley does the Hurley special where he just goes, I'm going to go away now, and walks away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's his special attack.
So Michael leaves Walt with Hurley. He's like, stick with Hurley. And that's that.
Hey, you! What's your name?
I don't know your name.
Not Vince.
And then what happens?
We're with the search party. There's 4 of them.
Yeah, we're with the search party. Locke is, like, tying little strings to trees so that they can, like, find their way back. And Boone's like, hey, man, can't you find the way back for us? And Locke's like, well, as long as nothing happens to me. And Boone's like, I guess I'll do the tree tying thing.
I love Locke in this episode. He's actually hilarious. He's just like, yeah, he's basically like, well, I can. Yeah.
I love it. He's just, like, surrounded by people who keep having, like, dumbass suggestions and, like, doing stupid things. And he's just like, whatever.
He's trying to salvage it as best he can. Poor guy. But like, yeah, so they do that. They find Charlie little tape, right?
Yeah, so, like, this is probably something that we did not mention except for, like, the first episode or something, but Charlie has, like, this tape he's wrapped around his fingers that he wrote, like, fate on with Sharpie, like, fake knuckle tats. And then he, like, when the plane was late, he added tape over the F and wrote late. And then, like, in this episode, at this moment, they find the L in the jungle. And it's like, oh, Charlie's leaving a trail for us.
Ooh, cool Charlie. Way to go, Charlie.
Yeah. Also preceding that, Kate and Jack have a conversation.
Oh, that was weird.
She's like, hey, why are you being a little pissy baby? Jack's like, fucking, I didn't believe Claire about her weird nightmares.
Yeah, they have a little talk with some tension between them surrounding their backstories where they're both kind of like probing at each other about why they are the way they are, I guess.
Yeah, that's gonna kind of keep happening throughout this episode.
I did not like this.
Oh, really? You didn't like the Kate scenes?
No, here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of problems with Kate. I was going to say Kate was mostly fine in this episode, but it's not really true. I think Kate was bad in this episode. But on the Kate scale, she wasn't that bad, I think.
Okay.
In this episode. I didn't like, maybe this is a small thing, I don't know. I did not like the way she was like, stop doing that. And then he was like, what? And then she like looks at him and goes like, that. It felt to me like the writers being like, women, like, you know, like they'll never actually tell you what's wrong.
It's
like
very,
that sort of
like,
thing.
Kate's being mommy here, you know? This episode's about daddy issues, but here's Kate, like, being mommy.
I did not like that particular exchange where she couldn't just be like, you're breaking down and behaving erratically. Like, she had to just be like, stop doing that. No, I'm not going to say what it is. Just that, obviously. Like, I just thought that was pretty bad writing.
Kind of lame. Yeah, they find this, like, trail thing, and then then what happens is, like, Jack's like, okay, so the trail that Charlie seems to have left goes off this way, and then Locke is like, wait, but there's another trail over here with, like, multiple footprints or whatever. And Kate's like, well, one of them could be fake. Maybe somebody went one way and then doubled back and whatever. And then everybody's like, Kate, how do you know things about
holy shit
tracking shit?
This is so bad.
Tell me your thoughts on that.
I mean, yeah, she says it could be a decoy trail, basically, is what she says. That is all she says. And then
yes.
I think it's Boone who goes like, whoa, I didn't know you were a tracker.
Yeah, and Locke's like, well, you're full of surprises.
Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck? Are we serious? Like,
It's like, I don't know, she's seen a movie before, probably, is how she would know about that.
Well, or
it's
just
very weird.
Is using logic sense in her brain? Like, it that had nothing to do with tracking, first of all.
Yeah.
There might be a fake trail. That has nothing to do with tracking. And I'm not gonna condemn any of the characters, whether it be Boone or Locke, for being incredibly stupid, because I gotta put this all on the writing. They wanted Kate to be a tracker and didn't know how to reveal that, which is dumb because there's so many easy ways to reveal it. Have Locke fuck up and be like, I'm not sure. And then Kate's like, oh, what about like right there, my guy? And then he's like, oh, damn.
It's like, why is Jack the one who's like, Charlie's trail went this way?
Yeah, like, it makes
like
no sense.
It's really weird. Like, that would be a moment where Kate could, like, I don't know, like, perform an action, you know?
Yeah.
Aside from just, like, saying shit.
It was just such a clumsy, bad way of conveying a piece of Kate information that they wanted to convey to us, which is that she can track somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did it so bad.
And I guess the point of that information, like, are we supposed to be like, oh, the mystery deepens or whatever around Kate's backstory, or like
I think we are, because Jack kind of does that. He does the whole like that. They get into it again later with the whole probing of like, you didn't tell anybody that. That's sketchy, basically.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those instances in this show where I'm like, I understand that there are things that will be hard to do in writing, especially when you've got a lot of characters you need to serve and you've got limited time. I understand all that, but like this one was not one of those. This one was really easy and you fucked it up somehow.
Yeah, it's really
weird. That's what I
weird.
don't get. Yeah.
It's a weird one.
Like, they should have, literally, I'm not joking, they should have had an intern in the office who could have done better than that.
Yeah, it's weird that none of the writers were like, well, I mean, who knows what happened, right? But it's weird that it wasn't.
It's just weird that it's so bad.
Better, when it seems like there's pretty clear and, like, straightforward ways of, like, fixing that.
Yeah, so basically, the characters all look into the camera and say, okay, audience, Kate can kind of track. Got it? Moving on.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens.
That is what happens. And then after they stare directly into the camera, then what happens is, like, Jack's like, okay, let's split up. And Jack and Kate go one way, and Locke and Boone go the other way.
This is another instance where Locke is like, not a good idea. And Jack's just like, I'm doing it. And then Locke's like, all right, sure.
Yeah. And then, okay, the next scene.
I love this scene.
So I also like this scene. Walt, for some reason, it is very funny that this is happening, but for some reason, Walt is hanging out with Sawyer.
I mean, he's just wandering around, you know?
Yeah, I think Walt is just, like, bored as fuck and is like, I guess I'll hang out with this fucking racist guy, or whatever.
Check out those 2004 shorts.
What, on
Walt?
Does he have, like, the knee-length, like, cargo shorts?
Oh, you gotta look at them.
Oh, they're, like, so long.
Yeah, it's not knee-length. It's, like...
They're like, shin length. Like, they're basically pants.
Yeah,
like,
they're almost to his socks.
It's so funny. He's wearing that and, like, a striped polo shirt.
Yeah, it's a look.
Okay, so the two of them are, like, hanging out or whatever, and Walt is, like, recapping the events of, like, the past episode.
Yeah, it's true.
Or, like, the past episode and the first half of this episode to Sawyer, which is pretty funny, because he's like, Ethan took Claire and Charlie, and Sawyer's like, who the hell is Ethan? Like...
And Sawyer's so good in this scene. He's very charming, and he treats Walt like a person.
Yeah, he's not like, piss off, kid. He's just like, yeah, I'm talking to a kid.
He's not condescending. He's not, he treats him like a person and treats the information that he's given from him with respect in a way.
Yeah, I would say he's a little condescending, but he's also condescending whenever he talks to literally anyone.
Yeah.
And he's not, like, more condescending than, like, his baseline level, you know?
Yeah, I think that's part of why it felt so much like he wasn't being condescending to me, is because it's just like, oh, he's treating Walt like he would treat Jack. Like, he's treating...
Yes.
Which was
probably
really...
better than he would treat Jack at this point after Jack, like,
that's true.
Tortured him or whatever. But I totally get what you're saying.
It was weirdly cathartic to see somebody treat Walt respectfully, as though Walt is a human person and not a baby child.
Yeah, like Locke has done that, but that was like, it seemed like a unique sort of dynamic. But
Yeah.
now it's like Walt's just like hanging out with another person and just having
It's
a
good to
conversation.
see.
Totally.
Yeah. Also, it's interesting, yeah, that it comes up that, Sawyer's like, why am I getting whatever from a 6-year-old? And then Walt's like, I'm 10. It's funny that, yeah, basically, I feel like Michael is treating Walt as though he is like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Instead of like he's 10 years old.
Okay, so Walt gives him this recap, and then also he mentions, like, yeah, but there might be, like, other people on the island or whatever, and Sawyer's like, no, and then Walt's like, Saeed said that when he got back, and Sawyer's like, Saeed's back, and basically you hear, like, the Kill Bill sirens, like, going off. He's like, oh shit. Is anything else?
No, he's like, we can kind of tell that Sawyer's
there?
about to go find Saeed. That's pretty clear.
Yeah. The next scene is like Boone and Locke. They're going through the jungle, doing their little thing. I guess they just have a little get to know you conversation.
Yeah.
Boone's like, what's your job? And Locke's like, I sell boxes or whatever. And
That's
Boone's
funny.
like, yeah, right. That's not what you do. He thinks Locke's like an assassin or some shit.
I think it's fun. I think it's actually cool to see Locke reflect on that, on the difference. His life pre-Lost was shitty job, wheelchair, he is sad.
Yeah.
And his life now is he's getting his destiny, hacking through the jungle, being a badass. And it was interesting to see that. I feel like, again, I just think it was a really good performance. I feel like you can see him reflecting on that just in like a 3-second shot of his face when he says that that's what he did.
He's also like entertained by how Boone thinks that he was probably a hitman or whatever.
Yeah. Boone's a fucking idiot.
Boone's a dumbass. We're continuing some like dumbass Boone shit in this episode because that's what he does.
Well, that's just who he is, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, you must have been a hitman because, hitmen are in the jungle all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't really follow that one, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dummy.
Yeah. Consistent with his character. For
It
sure.
really is, yeah.
Okay, on the other path, Kate and Jack are getting into a little... Jack is being like, oh, where'd you learn how to track shit, Kate, huh? Because you never tell me anything, huh? And
It
then
really
Kate's
is
like,
bad.
I don't know, my dad is in the military, and he liked hunting deer.
It's so corny, but the corniness isn't what makes it bad. You could have a corny scene here that was fine. Jack is like, tell me something real, Kate.
In fact, there is like kind of a corny scene later that I think is good.
Yeah, like, corny isn't just bad. Like, but yeah, he's like, can you tell me something real, Kate? And then she's like, my dad liked to hunt, and I went with him sometimes. And then she like dramatically pauses and is like, that was real. And it's just like, okay. Was that supposed to be like some big, meaningful, personal reveal? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't really get it either. It's like, I guess she's okay. Let's break it down, right? She's revealing part
That she had a dad?
of herself. Yeah, but it's also like not a vulnerable thing to share at all.
That's why it didn't work at all, is because Jack was asking for something personally meaningful. And I guess it could be personally meaningful that you hunted with your dad, but it's not a piece of information that you'd be hesitant to give up to somebody, right?
Yeah, it's really weird. It's it doesn't work. The scene does not work.
It does not work at all. It's just strange, yeah.
The next scene is probably like the longest scene in the whole episode. It's a flashback. And basically, okay, Jack gets called into his dad's office at the hospital. And his dad is like signing some paperwork. And he's like, okay, Jack, you got to sign this. It's a statement of what happened, which was that we both tried our best, but that the woman who was brought into the ER, she was like too fucked up from a car accident or whatever. And there was no way to save her. And then Jack's like, except that's not what happened, fucking daddy. It's like you were fucking drinking and shit, and that's why. And then his dad's like, yeah, but you wouldn't tell them that because I would lose my license. And then Jack's like, yeah, you would. And they're having a fucking stare down.
I like this scene.
Yeah. His dad then like basically like realizes Jack is serious and then like kind of like love bombs him and like sort of manipulates him into like feeling bad for him.
Yeah.
And then gets Jack to actually sign this statement.
He does it in a way that I'm not saying it's not realistic, but just in a way that's dumb. But that makes sense for somebody who is so emotionally detached from their own son to be fucking dumb as shit about it, right?
What do you mean?
The way he manipulates Jack is he says, like, I had to make sacrifices about our relationship so that hundreds or thousands of lives would be saved. And the dumb part about that to me is just that I don't believe at all that this dude was ever like, man, I would love to have a loving relationship with my son, but I'm going to need to sacrifice that for this greater good. This dude never wanted a loving relationship with his son.
No way.
So
he's
that's
just like a shitty dad.
Yeah, that's the part of it that, and I'm not saying it's badly written or unrealistic or anything, because he's a shithead. So like, yeah, he'll say that. But I was just watching that being like 0% chance. And if I want to say if I was Jack, I would be like, that's bullshit. But you know, that's a complicated relationship, and you can be fucked up about it really easily in that position.
For sure. And it's also one of those, like, it's also his dad says, like, you're the best surgeon in the city. Yeah. Because I, like, was really hard on you. Yeah. And mistreated you, basically. And, like, from Jack's perspective, if it's like we've seen established that his relationship with his dad like does not treat him well, right? So it's like, I'm sure getting approval from him in this moment is like, I feel like that is the thing.
Yeah, you're totally right.
That convinces him. And that's actually, yeah. Yeah, I also like this scene because it feels like actually like kind of real to me in terms of like the tactics he's using for emotional manipulation and how it sort of goes, you know?
You can totally tell, that he makes Jack's father makes a distinct choice to save his own ass by finally, like, he even references it that, like, I've never said this before, but I'm proud of you or whatever, right? Like, yeah, he's like, oh shit, gotta break the glass in case of emergency. Like, yeah, I've got this one silver bullet of telling my son I'm proud of him. I need to use it now to save my own career. And that's a compelling thing to watch. Like, actually, it is.
For sure, yeah.
I will say, there's no way that family members should be in this working relationship in this context. Like, this is wildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Holy shit.
It's kind of crazy for them to be working at the same hospital.
Yeah. And, like, in the same department and, like, in the same chain. Like, Jack should never be in a position where he has to do what he has to do here.
It's definitely some, like, conflict of interest, but it's just kind of, that's whatever. I don't give a fuck. It's for the sake of drama.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, Jack does, like, sign this statement or whatever. It seems like he really is feeling it.
He's struggling,
And
he's
struggling.
Like,
sure.
The setup, the flashbacks we've already had in this episode, they're very in line with Lost flashbacks so far in terms of informative, but not very entertaining on their own merit.
Uh-huh.
This one, I was actually like, hey, look, a flashback that was entertaining and compelling on its own rather than just in context with other stuff.
Totally. Yeah, it's like a dramatically compelling scene, I would say.
So, good job.
Good job, Lost. Yeah. Okay, the next scene, Sawyer and Saeed basically Sawyer wakes up Saeed, who's like by himself in the caves, like unconscious because his leg's fucked up and whatever. Sawyer wakes him up, and this is the scene that I was like, there are parts of it that are corny, but I still really enjoy it. Like, some of the dialogue is like pretty fucking cheesy in this.
It's cheesy. I think it's saved by the performances, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, they're both just very charming.
They're both it's also like an entertaining scene. Like, honestly, I kind of love Sawyer at this point.
Oh no, yeah, he's I agree.
Like,
totally.
He, aside from the parts where he's just straight up bigoted, he's like a lovable asshole.
He's a lovable asshole, and I think that he's not even nearly as much as an asshole as he gets credit for.
Yeah.
They treat him like such an asshole, and then they get what they asked for, basically. It's like that scene with Hurley. Remember that scene with Hurley? Where Hurley was just like, hey man, could I just like get this thing, please? And he's just like, okay, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
That's so fucking... Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so Sawyer shows up and he's basically like, "Hey, man, I could kick your ass right now." And then Saeed's like, "Yeah, you could. I didn't. I feel pretty bad about torturing you and shit, and that's why I left." And then he basically like reveals to Sawyer that he ran into the French woman, and when he was running through the jungle, he heard voices and shit. And Sawyer's like, "Ah."
Yeah. Sawyer's basically just like, whoa, and that's it.
That's kind of all that happens here. Yeah.
But no, it was well, and I like seeing that. Yeah, Sawyer has the opportunity to exact revenge really easily, and just like doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. He does not do that. He doesn't even like punch him or fucking anything. Right.
Yeah.
The next scene I like, Walt and Hurley are on the beach. This is our other Walt scene. And they're playing backgammon. And basically like Walt is just like destroying Hurley at backgammon. And I think that's the entire scene. Like I don't think
that's
like
it.
anything actually happens.
Nope. It's good though, yeah.
It's good. It's fun. It's like funny at points. It is funny though watching the game. Like if you know how to play backgammon and you look at the board, you're like, well, Hurley has lost already. Like he's like so lost. And there's like some points where it's like Walt is like, well, it does make sense because he's 10, but he's like celebrating things where it's just like, yeah, man, you already won. You won the game.
Well, yeah, he's like, oh, come on, this certain roll. And he gets it, but it's like, yeah, you could have not gotten the roll you needed 18 turns in a row and still won.
Yeah.
There was not much writing on that roll.
Right. And on the last roll, he didn't have to roll the dice because like both of his pieces were like directly next to the end. If you know how backgammon works. But yeah, whatever. It was a fun scene.
Yeah.
Totally pointless, but fun.
But it's another person treating Walt like a human being.
Yeah.
Which is
like
nice.
Hanging out, playing a game with him.
I liked Hurley getting all defensive about his 17th place ranking or whatever, which is funny.
Yeah, I like the joke at the end. Like Hurley like gets upset that he lost and he wanders off. And Walt's like, hey, you owe me $20,000.
Yeah, that's good.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's charming. It's just good. It's just good feels. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really like that Walt has scenes in this episode and, like, gets a little bit of, like, character, you know?
Yeah.
Just, like, in the way that he acts and his, like, dialogue and stuff. And, like, I do like that a lot.
No, for sure.
And also I like it for him, that he's not just fucking whatever, you know, getting yelled at by his dad. What's the next thing?
We get more Boone and Locke walking through the jungle. Locke is like, it's gonna rain in a minute. And then Boone's like, in a minute? And he's like, yeah, give or take a few seconds. And then it does. And he's like, you should go back because it's all raining as shit. And then Boone's like, no, I'm a big boy. And then Locke's like, it's another time when Locke is just like, all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, that's basically what happens. Also, Boone's like, how did you learn to predict the weather? It's like, I would say predicting that it's about to rain is incredibly easy because you just look at the clouds. I don't think you need to be professionally trained to, like, a minute before it starts raining predict that it's about to happen.
But Boone is an idiot.
Boone's a fucking dumbass, yeah.
Yeah.
We continue to just get Boone dumbass.
Is this... I'm not sure if it's this or later. I'm just going to talk about stuff that Boone does that's dumb. So we can skip it later if it happens to be later. Boone tells Locke about red shirts from Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, that happened earlier. We missed it, which I wanted to point out because it's like, oh shit, Star Trek reference.
Yeah, but is that not the most fucked up thing? Like, Boone, lifeguard bro, young guy, telling fucking role-playing nerd Locke about Star Trek?
That is
what
weird.
Is going on here? This is so, like, I'm not even joking. I'm serious. This is shit writing for that reason. You're trying to make characters that have a continuity of who they are, and you're breaking it with this shit.
Yeah, it's pretty weird that Boone has seen Star Trek, the original series.
And that Locke has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. We've seen Locke playing war games.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. And he's the right age. Like,
yeah, totally.
And Boone is not the right age, and he's a bro-y dude. It's bizarre. It really shocked me. Like, actually, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This is not right. This is wrong.
We saw that Boone was reading Watership Down in a previous episode. I would have liked if he was reading like some shitty sci-fi novel and there was like actually a characterization where he like has this nerdy side. He likes science fiction for some reason.
They also, I think this comes later, but they talk about what Boone does now, and he does not mention lifeguard.
No. Yeah.
What
well,
the
I
fuck?
think previously he was like, I was a lifeguard. Or did he say
Yeah.
I am a lifeguard?
It was
can't really
Shannon.
remember.
It was Shannon saying either he is a lifeguard or he was a lifeguard. In like the
I
pilot.
can't remember.
I'm feeling
I thought
like
it was in the. I thought it was him because like Rose is like unconscious and he's like trying to CPR her.
Oh shit, maybe
And
you're
Jack's
right.
like, "You're doing a shitty job."
No, I think you're right.
I'm a lifeguard. I'm licensed.
I love that he's just a dumbass in every appearance that he has.
Yeah, well, you need to seriously think about giving that license back.
Regardless, yeah, I feel like this was just like a retcon from the pilot of just like, we wrote this character as a lifeguard and then decided that's not what we wanted later.
Well, there's also a previous episode where he mentions that he like runs a business or something.
Was there really? I did not catch that.
I think he mentions it and Shannon is like very like flippant about it. She's like, yeah, uh-huh.
Okay. Which tracks with what we got here, which is
Yeah,
it's a subsidiary
that he's like
of his
a-
mom's business. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Like,
Which all
that
tracks. Yeah.
Tracks, yeah.
And at least Shannon seems to have the dignity to accept who she is. You know? She's just like, yeah, I'm rich, not through my own doing. I'm a rich kid.
Yeah.
Whereas Boone's like, oh, I run a business.
He has, yeah. Yeah.
Boone sucks.
God. Yep. Okay, the next scene. It's pouring rain. Jack and Kate, they're going through the jungle.
They're not fucking.
And then, what?
I said they're not fucking.
They're not fucking.
You said they're fucking.
They're fucking, yeah, they're not fucking, but they're fucking going through the jungle, and then, like, it's raining, and they're like, oh, where's the trail? It's hard to tell because the mud, and then, like, you hear, like, Claire
Spooky.
screaming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, like a weird sound,
Sounded
and
like
then
monkeys.
you hear Claire screaming. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Jack starts running, like, up this muddy hill, and he's like, didn't you hear her? And Kate's like, what are you talking about? Well, the actual thing she says is, hear who? Which is fucking stupid.
Yeah, Kate's dumb.
Given the context. What, like, it's also just like, why is that the thing she says? Because, like, it's very obvious whatever.
Yeah, well, no,
It's
she
stupid.
could say anything else. She could say, no, I didn't hear that, or what?
Or, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
Yeah, like,
I mean, she could say, hear what? And that would make more sense.
yeah,
right?
it's just you're right, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. It's just bizarre when you see these unforced errors, where it's just like,
Yeah.
you shot yourself in the foot for no reason. Why? What? It's bizarre.
Yeah. They're clambering up this, like, muddy hill, and then Jack, like, slips and slides to the bottom. And he hits the bottom of this hill, right? And Kate's, like, still somewhere up it. And then, like, he looks up, and fucking Ethan is looming over and...
Weirdo Ethan.
Oh, fuck. Weirdo Ethan. And then Ethan, like, fucking puts his boot on Jack's chest and is like, if you keep following me, I'm gonna kill one of them. And then he, like, beats the shit out of Jack, and Jack tries to get up and fight him and just gets his ass completely kicked.
Ethan beats Jack into a flashback.
He does. He, like, knocks him out into the hospital fucking
Yeah.
10 years ago
Yeah.
or whatever.
Which is fine. I got no complaint about it. It's one of those things I feel like we've talked about where it's like there's an established way of doing narrative which is not original, but there's a reason it's established because it fucking works, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times in this show, I've been like, it can be cool to deviate from that in interesting ways because it's unexpected and cool, right? But there were times when I'm watching the show and I'm just like, there's a outline, there's a formula that works, and you deviated from it for no reason in a way that makes it worse. Like, why did you not just know how drama works?
Sure, yeah.
So I'm not complaining at all when I say that he beats him into a flashback, because it's a thing. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's a thing for a reason.
For sure. What do you think of this scene with Ethan and stuff? Were you like, oh,
Oh,
fuck?
I didn't give a fuck. No, I was not like, oh, fuck at all. I mean, honestly, it's like, oh, guy that they're chasing showed up and they fought. Like, it was very... I got so much more emotion out of, like, I don't know, every other scene. Like, Locke talking about anything or Walt talking to Sawyer felt more emotional to me. This just felt like, okay, this thing is happening, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this is another thing. Look, basically the whole, like, tracking plot, because I know what happens,
You're just kind of watching it happen, yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, this is happening. But it's also weird because, like, there are previous episodes where I've known what happens, but I was still like, oh, shit, this is cool and compelling.
I think that it was... I don't want to make it sound like I was too down on it, because I think in the first watch I really was like... I wasn't like, oh, whoa, what's going to happen here? Like, it wasn't very suspenseful, but it was action, it was things happening, and I think this show sometimes struggles with having things not happen, so I think I was happy enough to be along for the ride where things are happening.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so Ethan knocks him into this flashback, which is basically just like Jack seeing the husband of the woman who died talking to his dad, and a nurse tells Jack that the husband is threatening to sue the hospital.
Yeah, and Jack's dad is being... It seems like Jack's dad is successfully, I don't know if manipulating, but is successfully consoling the husband in a way that is mollifying the husband. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, that is what it seems like.
I thought it was a good scene, because I think it's Jack watching his father manipulate somebody. That's what it felt like to me.
You're totally right. I feel like a dumbass, because I was like, this scene is fucking pointless. But
No,
you're completely right that is what's happening.
Because it's the guy
Jack's
going... The husband goes from being angry, body language-wise, and confrontational and angry, and then by the end, we don't hear any of this conversation at all. But by the end,
we just
he's
sort of
like
see it.
sobbing and like basically like an embrace with Jack's dad.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what I got out of that was, basically Jack is seeing from the outside his father manipulating somebody on purpose.
Totally. That is totally what's happening. I don't know why that didn't didn't land for me. I don't know.
We can find food. Peanuts. We can find food. What do you need? We can find food.
Ocean goldfish?
We can find food.
There's a brief interlude where Kate wakes Jack up. And Jack's all delirious, and he's like, all right, I can't. Kate's basically like, we lost the trail because it was raining. And Jack's like, nah, I won't let him do this again. And then, like, chases after Ethan. And we're like, oh. Is he referring to something that happened in the flashback, maybe?
Jack's not okay.
Yeah.
And then Kate is just also there.
Yeah, Kate is also there. That's so true. And we go back into the flashback, and this is the last flashback scene. And basically, it's like, there's a bunch of, it seems like lawyers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And Jack and his dad are both in, like, an office, and Jack's dad is, like, giving his statement about what happened in the operating room to the lawyers. And they're like, okay, that sounds good. Just one last question. Did you know that your patient was pregnant before she went into the operating room? And Jack has this expression, and he's like, what? And his dad is like, yeah, of course I knew. Obviously I knew. And then, like, they're about to leave, and Jack's like, I need to amend my statement. Actually, my dad was drunk and cut her artery, and that's why she died.
Yeah. Way to go, Jack. That's tough.
He did the right thing, even though it was hard. You can see that he's struggling over it and stuff. Okay, so this scene is kind of supposed to act as the reveal for why these flashbacks are in this episode, right? Because it's supposed to be like, so Jack's dad accidentally killed a pregnant woman, and Jack wasn't able to save her and the baby.
It's funny, because I didn't put any of that shit together. I did not attach the her being pregnant to our current timeline.
Yeah, because that's why he says...
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
Yeah, that's why he's like, I can't let him do this again. Now, okay, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on.
Yeah.
But I will say, what? Like, I don't blame you for missing it, because, like, what? Like, is the only parallel that she's pregnant?
So I would say, here's what I would say. The way I read that scene, I missed the parallel with the pregnancy. I just read it as, like, her being pregnant was the final straw for Jack in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it. But I think that they just did a bad job with that particular parallel. I didn't feel like it was particularly out of place still, just because it was Jack failing to save somebody. Like, I got that parallel out of it strong enough, because he was the one who was operating on her when she died. It wasn't his fault that she died, but he was the one trying to save her and failing.
Yeah.
So I was comfortable enough with that being the connective tissue that I didn't need it to have the added pregnancy bit.
I guess it's like also we're kind of seeing that like for Jack, like failing to save someone is wrapped up in his like daddy issues stuff, right? So there's like additional weight there aside from just like, so I guess like we're getting a bit more why he has like a savior complex and how that's kind of wrapped up in these other emotional issues.
Yeah.
That said, it like, for me, the flashback narrative and the like what's happening on the island narrative are like too disconnected.
I agree.
And I especially think the pregnancy thing and trying to use that as like
It's
why
weak.
These two things are paralyzed.
It's really weak.
Yeah, it's like, what? Like,
It could have been a lot stronger. I guess I actually didn't really have a problem with it just because it's like Jack is having a breakdown because he is failing to save somebody.
yeah.
And that's what the flashbacks are about. And that was just enough for me. Like, but you're totally right that they're pretty tangential. They're not super interwoven in a good way, but it was just enough to not piss me off.
Yeah, like, I definitely see what you're saying with that they're emotionally connected in that way.
I hope they didn't think that, like, when they wrote that did you know that she was pregnant? That was, like, helped in tying it together, because it fucking doesn't.
I feel
it's just
like
a fact.
That's intentional, you know?
I agree, but
yeah.
I think it's bad, is what I'm saying, is that, like, it's bad, and I think it's lazy. Like, just, it's almost like if Claire had red hair, and they were like, okay, one last thing. Did you know that she dyed her hair blonde and was actually a redhead? And then Jack was what?
Yeah.
Like,
that is like what it feels like. Where
Yeah.
it's like, wait, is that supposed to
fucking
what?
matter at all? Yeah. No, I agree, totally. Which is why I didn't pick up on it, I think, is because it just like it doesn't work.
Totally.
But yeah, we see Jack make the hard choice, and I like that for Jack. I'm really growing to like Jack.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a compelling character. All right, back on the island. Kate and Jack, they're running through the jungle, and then, oh shit, they turn a corner, and they see Charlie hanging from a tree by his fucking neck with vines and shit, and he's like blindfolded.
It's
and
gnarly.
It seems like he's fucking dead. And like, they rush to cut him down, and
this is a long scene.
it's a really long scene. I think it's like definitely too long in some places.
Yes.
They cut him down, and it's like, oh fuck, and Jack's like doing CPR on him. He's not responsive, and we get one of those scenes. Jack's doing CPR, and Kate's like crying, and then she's like, oh stop, he's gone, you can't. And then Jack like stops, and it's like, oh, that's silent, and then there's the sad piano music, and then Jack's like shakes his head, and he's like, no, and then he does the thing, he's like slamming his fist on his chest, and Kate's like, what? No, he's gone.
Yeah,
and
he's doing the thing where he's not just doing compressions, he's like hammer fisting down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and then Charlie is like coughs back to life, and everybody's happy.
So you knew that Charlie wasn't going to die here.
Yes.
How did you feel about this scene, knowing
So
that?
boring. The scene is so long,
Okay.
and it's just doing the exact beats that this scene always has. But it does have, it sort of has there is a moment where it feels like, maybe if I were watching it for the first time, I might have been like, oh fuck, Charlie did actually die.
So, watching it for the first time just now,
Uh-huh.
having just
Mhm.
watched it for the first time, I can only give you my experience. My experience was, I did not for one fucking second believe Charlie was dead. I had a very strange experience because it was a whole mix of so many different things. You're right, it was boring. I was bored, which I shouldn't have been. As seeing that the first time, I should not have been bored.
Uh-huh.
But I was, because I was bored. I was also literally laughing because I'm like, the reason it's so long is because they were trying so hard to make people think that Charlie actually died.
Yeah.
They were trying so hard. That's why it's so fucking long, is because they really want people to think it. And I was just like, sitting here, A, bored, B, laughing, just being like, y'all ain't getting me. Like, I wish you could be getting me because I'd be having a better experience right now. But like, nah, not buying it. Can we fucking move this along, please? It was a really strange experience, honestly.
It's
to watch
so,
it. It was very strange.
I feel like it's not helped by like Okay, normally Matthew Fox's performance as Jack, I would say, is pretty good.
I think it's pretty good. I agree.
In this scene, his physical performance of doing the CPR and trying to resuscitate Charlie is so fucking weak. Like, he's like...
It is, yeah.
It's like, the compressions that he's giving are like, he's like, you know, it's like, little, like, it's like if, you know, when a cat, like, knocks something off a shelf and they're looking at you, like, passive aggressively.
They just stare at
like,
you and they do the little, like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
That's, like, the amount of, like energy being put into this. And then, you know, he goes into the fucking movie mode that we always see. And
the music doesn't
gives
help
up on,
here.
Yeah, he gives up on the normal compressions and he's doing the, like, fist, but it looks like if he hit an egg, it would not break. Like, it's so weak.
I'm gonna totally make some shit up here, which is probably not true, and just speculate that, like, could that be because you get the script and you read it and it's dumb, so you just struggle to, like, get into it, you know?
But your job as an actor is to fucking sell it,
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. I don't know.
The other parts of his performance, he's like, you know, he's trying to sell it, and like Evangeline Lilly, she's like weeping and stuff. But literally just the physical part of the performance does not work.
I agree with you. You wanna hear something that I stumbled upon?
Yeah.
This episode at the time was well received. It got particular critical note positively for this scene.
What?
Multiple different critics pointed out this scene as being like a great dramatic moment.
What did they say? What?
Praised the scene where Jack tries to save Charlie. I remember believing that they had killed off Charlie on my initial viewing, and even though I knew the outcome this time, it was still a hard scene to watch.
Who wrote this? What is this?
This was written by, oh shit.
Wait, are we looking at the same review? Because this name.
Chris Carabot?
Oh, no.
Of IGN.
Okay.
So, like, oh.
Okay. I found somebody writing about this episode in 2014 on the AV Club, and the author's name is Miles McNutt. That is a fucking joke name.
Whitney Pastorek of Entertainment Weekly did not care for Jack's flashbacks, but commended the scene in which Jack saved Charlie, stating, "Even though I knew he was going to go back to the CPR and save Charlie's life, I started crying. This is how you identify good TV. When you know what's going to happen and you still get swept up in it all."
What?
I agree. I agree. Did
we watch the same thing?
I agree. I saw that and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a 2004 issue of we've learned how to make better TV since then or what. But yeah, this scene did not work for me at all. I thought this scene sucked. Especially because they were clearly trying, like, I was actually laughing because I was like, you all are trying so hard to make me think Charlie is dead. You're trying so hard. Like,
yeah, it's like, and because that doesn't work, it just makes this seem like
weak. It's so weak. Yeah.
Like it's so fucking long.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, yeah, it was. I thought the scene was very, very bad.
But Charlie he's alive. Do you have more to say about the scene before we do the next one where they're back at the caves and stuff?
It sucked. Whatever.
All right, we're back at the caves. Charlie is there looking all traumatized and shit, and he's not saying anything. And then Michael shows up, and he's like,
That's funny.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Charlie's back. Did they find Claire? And he just like shakes his head. In a gesture that I would argue is ambiguous as to whether he's saying no, they didn't find her, or no, she is dead.
Yeah, I agree.
But I guess somehow Michael knows what's up with that.
I just like how Michael presumably had his own adventure with extras.
Yeah, with Scott and Steve.
Yeah, where like, I guess in my imagination, they like went south, but they went like 20 yards south and went, yep, don't see them. Maybe we should go back. Like, that's kind of what happened in my head.
They're like, maybe they're over here, and they just like walk onto the beach where all the other survivors are. They're like, have you seen Claire?
It's just so funny, to me that, I don't know, there's this, not that there's build-up around it, but there's so much talk around Michael's being a little bitch about his side adventure, and then we don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and it was like, there was no reason for it to be there.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it's there so that Walt... No, it has no purpose. But it's like, I'm realizing that's why Walt has like scenes with other characters, is because like Michael's off doing some other shit.
Yeah, that's a good thing that came from it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really funny the way he comes back and it's just like, oh yeah, Michael, you were theoretically also actually having an adventure that we just didn't see.
And it's also like nobody
asks. Yeah,
like,
yeah, nobody gives a fuck.
Did you find Claire? They're just like, I mean, the thing is, Locke was the only person who. I wonder if other people are just like, what did he even? Were you gone? Like,
yeah, basically, right? Yeah, that's what it feels like. Is like, oh, were you having a nap? Like, did you get a good nap in, buddy?
Okay, so then like Jack is trying to like check Charlie's wounds, and Charlie's still just like trauma eyes. But then he says like, I didn't hear or see anything. I can't remember anything. But they wanted Claire. And Jack's like, they? And Charlie's like, they wanted Claire. Right?
Yeah.
That's what happens?
Yeah. I feel like this should have been more spooky or emotional or compelling or something to me. I didn't care about this at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really. We've heard, we've already gotten stuff that's like, oh, are there multiple people out there? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right? And this is just kind of more of that.
More of what we already know, yeah.
And then Shannon is like, walks up to Kate and is just like, hey, like, my dumbass brother is still missing. Kate's like, yeah, but like, he's with Locke, and Locke's fucking based. And Shannon's like, all right. And then we cut to the last scene of the episode and cut back to Locke and Boone. And it's like nighttime now, by the way. Like, and they're just like in the jungle at night. And Boone's like, are you even following the trail anymore, man? Like, what's going on? I feel like we should go back. And then Locke's like, but don't you feel it? And Boone's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Locke gets a little wild here.
Yeah, it's like, it seems like Locke maybe is not actually following the trail or something. Like, there's something going on with him, right? That he's like not really communicating. But Boone's basically like, all right, I'm gonna go back. And Locke's like, fucking whatever. Okay, here's a flashlight. And he throws him a flashlight. And Boone, dumbass that he is, fails to catch the flashlight. But when he drops it, it makes this like metal clang. And it's like, what the fuck? And they walk over there and it's like, oh, there's something metal buried underneath all the mud and the ivy and shit of the jungle. And then Boone's like, what is it? A part of the plane? And Locke's like, that's what we're gonna find out. And then they start digging at it with their hands. And then the episode ends. Then we get the whole thing where it goes lost.
Looks like a little like trap door. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how much of, I know what it is, but I wasn't sure how much was really clear in what you can see because it's all muddy and shit. But is that what you think it is?
That's what it seemed to me is like a little trap door, yeah.
What do you think of this bit?
It's one of those things where I don't want to put it on the same level as the polar bear thing, but it's in the same kind of vein of just like, because this one is one that will actually matter and will get explored further, right? Instead of just like, that was a weird thing.
Is it going to be one that's explored further? And is going to be something?
Yeah. In the next episode, they're not just going to be like, that was weird and walk away from it, I don't think.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, I'm pretty confident in that.
All right.
But so it's much better than that. I'm not like racked with suspense about what could it be? Let me speculate. But I am like, oh, cool. Next episode, things will continue to happen. I like it when things happen. Like, that's cool.
They're doing a better job at ending episodes where it's actually like, oh shit, I wonder what's going to happen next time. Like they're getting better at that.
Probably something will happen next episode instead of maybe next episode they will just sit around and bitch at each other some more.
I also I think the way that it's revealed is cool. Like, I think the moment of revelation is surprising of like
I agree,
Locke throwing him this flashlight and then it's just like pang and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I think that's pretty cool.
It just comes out of nowhere. It's not built up at all. I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that right before you get Locke getting into his weird mysticism shit. I think that's good.
It's also cool because like it becomes clear in this scene that at some point Locke stopped looking for Claire and Charlie.
Yeah.
There was never a clear moment of him switching, but it's pretty clear that he is not doing that anymore.
I really like that kind of combination of he is subtle with his weird mysticism stuff and his weird side motivations. They kind of blend into his more straight up stuff. And
Yeah.
I like that he's not just, we talked about it before, like even like with the reveal of Charlie's guitar, where it's not like, oh, if you give to the island, it will magically give you something. It's like, oh, look, your guitar is right there. He did it with Jack, where he's like, and you found the water or whatever, or did you find you were looking for and stuff. And not saying like, you know, you will be rewarded by this island, but like, what, just think about what if there's something else going on. And I just like how kind of subdued all that is. And it was nice to see it pretty absent in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
And it kind of start peeking its head through later on. Like, that was cool, I thought.
Yeah, and it's cool. It adds to a bit of like the feeling of like, how much is it a good idea to trust this guy?
Yeah.
Right? Because like clearly at some point his motivations changed, and it was not obvious when. And
Yeah.
like that's a little scary.
That's so
right?
cool. I really liked it.
Yeah, for sure.
He is clearly valuable to the group. He got them a boar and fed
Yeah.
them. He is helping the group. But you're right, just
Yeah.
in that it's like there is a line, and we can't rely too much on this person, even though they are actually being helped. Like, it's cool. I like it a lot.
They have like a really good thing figured out with Locke.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
he's very. I would say he's probably like the most compelling character in the show.
I agree, big time, for sure.
At this point.
Personally.
Yeah.
But I also just personally like his vibes, so I'm biased in that way.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's really cool to have a character where like you're actually not sure what, like we have a bit of a decent idea of like what's going on with him, right? Seemingly, like where we're like, oh, okay, I get why he has these feelings about the island and whatever.
We don't know what he saw with the monster, though.
Yeah, we still don't know that. We don't know, like, in this situation, like, there's still just enough there to be like, is this guy, like, is he on our side? Like, what's going on?
What I really like about it is that when I'm wondering that, which I am wondering, it's not, oh, is he on our side or is he against us? Because I don't think he's against them at all.
Right.
It's not, is he good or is he secretly evil? It's just side motivations.
Yeah.
And that's so much better than like, oh, is he actually out here to hurt us or anything? It's like, no, I don't think that's part of it at all. It's just that he might find something more important to him than you.
Yeah, and like, what might he do in pursuit of that?
Exactly.
And you genuinely don't know. And
Yeah.
that's like pretty cool.
I think it is by far the most compelling part of the show, for me at least, so far.
Jack.
Hurley.
Said. Michelle.
Claire. Sawyer.
Wall.
Son.
Jin.
Michael. Not Vince.
Charlie.
Well, that was season 1, episode 11. All the best cowboys have daddy issues. Any closing thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I thought it was actually a good episode. I liked it. It had some shitty parts in it, but they all do.
I'm still maintaining that. Oh yeah, I did have some like conclusions about why I thought it was boring or kind of fillery in some ways. Here's one of them, right? Okay, so one of them is sort of what I talked about, where the flashbacks feel like kind of just like unrelated to the main narrative.
Sure.
For the most part. The other thing that I would say is that at the end of the episode, Charlie is back at the caves and doesn't remember anything and whatever. Like, the episode could have started with them finding unconscious Charlie and the exact same thing happening.
You're right about that. I'm trying to think what we gained from not having that.
I guess what we got is all the drama and the character stuff of them following and Jack getting all this stuff. Like, I understand that's what's happening, but like, the reason it feels like padding upon rewatch is because like that.
I agree. I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing at all. Yeah, for me at least, on my first watch of it, it didn't feel super fillery. I think just because I was getting a kick out of what I was seeing in that filler period, you know?
Uh-huh.
The Locke stuff, I was like, cool. Even like the Hurley and Walt scene and the Walt and Sawyer scene, not necessary at all, but I enjoyed them.
Yeah, me too. Those were my favorite parts of the episode, actually, you know?
So I see where you're coming from with that, but I guess, yeah, I just didn't. I definitely noticed it on my second watch, I will say. I was kind of just like, all right, is this really it? But on my first watch, I was not feeling that way.
I will say the thing that happens at the end of the episode, the whatever that Locke and Boone discover, I am excited to see that proceed. Like, yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
They use the flashbacks well. I think, I've been shitting on them for wasting flashback time, and I have nothing bad to say about the flashbacks this episode, except for I agree that they're kind of disconnected from the island stuff, but they were good.
I do agree that they are at least telling a narrative where it's like that's actually kind of like interesting, right? They're telling a story that's you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting contextually, and also on its own, it has interesting moments. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
This was not written by Lyndall Dix and Abrams.
Oh,
it was written
yeah,
by...
I saw that.
Yeah.
The opening credit.
That's why I looked it up too, yeah, it's because of the opening credit. It's the same guy, he also wrote House of the Rising Sun.
That one we had less positive feelings on. Or you did. Okay. Anything you're looking forward to next episode?
Things happening, and Locke being weird.
I have some news for you.
Oh boy.
Well, let's say, the next episode, Season 1, Episode 12, it's called Whatever the Case May Be. And the next one is a Kate episode.
Okay. Well, that'll suck, but we'll get through it.
We will get through it.
Is it?
I
was gonna just.
I'm
It's
stoked,
not.
I
I was
guess.
gonna say, is it her death episode? Because that would be okay. But I don't think it is.
I'm kind of flipping through it, and there's some shit.
Oh boy.
I'm excited to watch the next one and talk about it.
Oh boy. Well, I'm glad we got a good one before that, to my mind at least.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just say this about Kate. I said it before. I'm going to say it again, just to be clear. If we're going into the episode, it doesn't matter. I tried to stay around 0 with Kate. I tried to give her time to not be terrible. That time expired, and I now have a judgment, and that Kate is... I feel weird, too, saying Kate, as though it's like her fault somehow. It's terribly written. Horribly written. And now that judgment is made, it's going to take genuinely good stuff to bring it back up.
Yeah, it's going to take extra work.
Yeah, because I'm not sitting at 0 anymore. I tried to stay at 0 for as long as possible, but there's enough evidence now that Kate is a disastrous character that doesn't just not add anything, but actively harms every scene she's in. It's going to take some stuff to get her out of that pit.
Well, we'll see if the next episode begins the Kate redemption arc.
Yeah, I say that no, it won't. It's just going to be me hating on Kate, but...
I mean, I hope we get some new happenings in the Kate is a freak plot line.
Yeah, I was going to actually check in with I feel like we didn't get any of that this episode, right? We got nothing?
No, just her and Jack are just not on... They're mad at each other. It seems like that's their status, right?
Yeah, and she doesn't have anything with Sawyer or anything. There's...
Yeah, she's just doing the thing where she goes hiking.
This episode, Kate not a freak.
Okay, great. We will see you all next time.
How many episodes are in the first season? 35 or some shit? 26? So we're not even halfway through the first season.
No,
that is
we are
wild.
Not.
Holy shit. No, this is
why there's a lot of show.
That's why there's so much filler, because they got 26 goddamn episodes a season.
Yeah. That is why that happens, and also that's why TV tends to be on. Look, prestige TV. There's a lot of things that you can say about it. There's things we've lost. Whatever. I will say, on the whole, TV is better now than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what is not better now is fucking Hulu's UI is impossible to goddamn navigate.
Question.
Yes.
Do you watch things on Hulu?
Yeah, I'm watching this on Hulu.
You wild.
I mean, my partner has an account.
So here's the thing. No, here's the thing. It's not even about money. Let's talk about this, right?
Oh.
Gabe Newell knows this, and nobody listened to him, I guess. When you you talk about the Hulu UI being terrible and shit, right? Mm-hmm. When you make the user experience better to get things illegally than legally, it's a fucking disaster for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
You need to make it be a better experience when you pay money for it.
It is fucked up that it's easier for me to... it would be easier for me to find the episode I want to watch if I was not using Hulu.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's just so stupid. Like, to
Hulu
see an
sucks.
episode list for the season, you need to, like... I still don't even fucking know how to do it. Like, you kind of have to click around until, like, one of the things that you click on happens to, like, bring you to the list of episodes. It's like...
No, it's bad. Hulu has terrible, in my experience, UI.
Yes.
And just even the video player itself sucks for me.
Yeah, it's like, how do you fuck the UI up so bad? Like, it does not seem that hard.
It's a good
Like-
thing that I purchased these Blu-rays.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Got them at a bargain price.
Yeah.
You already used. Great. You can find us at The Long Lost Pod on fucking whatever we're on. And you can find us you can email us at thelonglostpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me at dorkpunk with Q's instead of K's on Instagram. Lana, anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Great. Good job. See you next time. We're gonna fucking be lost again.
Bye.
Bye.